What's up everyone, it's Marco from PhoneDog.com, and don't you worry, it's definitely not an iPhone 6 or 6 Plus video. It's time to pay a little more attention to a phone that, well, got a lot of attention last year, and it's this guy, or actually the one before this guy. This is the brand new Moto G. I had some hands-on of this guy a couple weeks ago when I had the Moto G event and the Moto X event, and well, it's time to give you the full review of the not so little anymore brand new Moto G for 2014. How do you make a device to compete with the prestige of the last generation? It was such a perfect little device, and the sales definitely embraced all of it. It was and still is the best-selling Motorola device in all of the history of Motorola. So what does this new Moto G bring to the table? Well, for starters, it's bigger by a whole ½ inch. Now hosting a 5-inch display, it's a larger device which will attract more customers who are seeking a bigger display. It also has new improved dual speakers and a new micro SD card slot. What Motorola has done is make a device as versatile as possible to attract even more customers than before, and even current Moto G customers who bought the last generation G. So let's start with the size and design. Yes, it's bigger, a lot bigger. I'm actually really shocked how big this phone is. So go ahead, make those jokes in the comments, but hear me out. The phone measures in at 5.57 inches tall, 2.78 inches wide, and 11 millimeters thick. It's a large device. And the design is exactly the same, but again, it's just done in a bigger way. Though the materials feel a bit more solid on this generation. It may be just me, but it feels like a much more solid device. The display has also received some updates. Its larger screen size and IPS display technology makes it a much more accurate display than its expensive brother, the Moto X, but its reduction in PPI from last year also makes it less clear. So instead of giving the Moto G a new 1080p display with its larger 5-inch display, they stuck to the same old 720p display, which brings the PPI down from over 300 to 294. Is it a major downside? Probably not, but for someone like me who's been using devices of 400 and 500 PPI for the past half year, it's awfully noticeable. On the hardware side of things, the Moto G is almost untouched. It runs the same 1.2 GHz quad-core Snapdragon 400 processor, the same Adreno 305 GPU, and houses the same exact 1 GB of RAM. The only differences on the hardware side of things is a new 8-megapixel camera and the addition of a new micro SD card slot next to the SIM slot. And just like the first Moto G, this phone comes with no LTE. The best you'll get in the States and anywhere else is HSPA+, which is not a real problem for anyone who lives in a country with no LTE support, but if you're a US buyer, that's a real downfall. And I completely expect Motorola to announce a LTE version of the Moto G within the first couple months. But my question is, why not at the same time, or why just include this from the get-go? Performance on the new Moto G is great, just like what I expected, and while I am disappointed that no upgrades were made to the internals of the G, that doesn't mean this phone is lacking in performance. With Android 4.4.4 and nearly no Motorola customization, the phone still flies through just about everything. It's as fluid as a phone can get at this price point, and maybe even more. The camera has also received a 3-megapixel boost up to 8 megapixels, and it's still not the best camera around, but it will do. It does have more quality over the old Moto G camera, and that's exactly what Motorola wanted. It's still a big disappointment to see that the Moto G only records 720p video and not 1080, and actually if its megapixel rating, it could record 4K video, but that's definitely not what we're expecting for a sub $200 device. And last but not least, the battery life. The Moto G is equipped with a 2070 mAh battery. It's actually a great size for a phone of this size, and my average battery life has been around 4.5 to 5 hours of on-screen time, and I can easily get it through one whole day with battery to spare. So Moto's formula that worked so well last year should work just as well this year because it's the same exact thing. They made it larger, more solid feeling, and they've given it slight upgrades like a new micro SD card slot and a larger display. But they've also held back on the things I would like to see, like LTE for example, and a higher resolution display. So if you're in the market for a budget phone, the Moto G is not a bad choice. Actually, it's a great choice, and it's probably the choice that I would choose. So thanks for watching. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comment section below, or you can send them directly to myself on Twitter to @PhoneDog_Marco. And as always, my name is Marco Hanna from PhoneDog.com, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.